This is Betsy Palmer, and I'm not sorry that I lost my head. It's been worth every moment of it.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I am Nasty Neil.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
Yes, and we are joined by Eileen Dietz. It is a pleasure to have you on the show with us.
Why, thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yes, and for a lot of people, they'll know you as Captain Howdy, the face of the devil. And what I want to ask you right away was, Exorcist is considered the scariest film ever. Why do you think that is?
Because it was scary.
That is a very good answer.
I really think it's because when it came out, and it was the first of its kind, obviously they had horror films before, but the makeup and the special effects, thank God there was no CGI.
Yes.
The makeup, special effects, particularly the editing, and it was something that people really had never seen before. They also were masterful people with PR. I mean, I think it was one of the first films that the set was closed. Nobody was allowed on the set. No pictures were allowed out. I have 2 pictures from the filming, and I don't know how I got them, and I wish I had the others. But even Dick Smith, the Godfather makeup, he hasn't got pictures. So they created this environment around it. They were also one of the first films that didn't let people see the movie until the other one was over. And so they created these huge lines in Westwood, California. Mm-hmm. So I think everything was absolutely masterful. Plus, they had a film that scared the hell out of everybody because, and I'm giving you a long answer, I know, but because I think particularly in horror films, but in any film, a romance film or something, you really have to identify with the characters. And you really have to either love them or hate them. And my premise is that everybody who saw that film, if it was a parent, they thought they were going to walk into a room and see their kids like that. Mm-hmm. And if it was a kid, they thought they were going to end up like that. Yeah. And that's what, and particularly, I know it spoke to very religious people. But it really spoke to anybody who was a parent or a child. And it's not horror films like today. There's no blood. There's no guts. There's no nothing. There's just a very enthralling story. And the other magic that Dick Smith did, and I'll talk about him forever because he also changed my life, may he rest in peace, is they decided to make that demon, Pazuzu, Captain Howdy, very accessible to people. So wasn't just some devil with red eyes and ears and a tail. And they went through several makeup tests. One being, big eyebrows and teeth and really demonic as we know it. And they said, no, let's make this devil look very human, and then make it, as the movie went on, Pazuzu becomes more and more, or Reagan becomes more and more scratched up. And so that's a very long answer to your question, but that's what I think.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Pazuzu, Captain Howdy, doesn't look like, there's really nothing else that ever looked like that character. So it's creepy. Like you were saying, it's not just this devil. I don't know how it was at the time, but now where that movie is still scaring people, you see the devil and it's like, eh. But you see that people are terrified of that picture. Still, that picture freaks me out. You know the one I'm talking about. It's this iconic image where a head's tilted a little bit to the side and it's complete blackness all the way around. Horrifying.
Yeah. And like I said, that's you have to give credit to Dick Smith and makeup, special effects, and particularly the editing. Yeah, the editing on that film just was amazing. The hand on the door. Mm-hmm. That you open the door and you never know what you're going to see, and then have that image jump out at you. That's just really great skill, great horror film. And when you get right down to it, Billy Friedkin's other film, The French Connection, won an Oscar totally on editing. So he really knew how to pull editors in there. Plus, Owen Rosman, the cameraman, knew what to shoot. So in that way, it was a whole effort of crew people. So that's what makes it so scary today. There's a couple little kids that I see at horror conventions that have seen it at 10 or 11, and you really have to listen to it. You have to really be, that wasn't scary. There was no blood. There was no guts, blah, blah, blah. But, they'll grow out of it.
Yeah. So some of us are still terrified. You'd mentioned the impact that this had on religious persons. Was there a massive fallout of any kind or any consequence for you for the film because of religious persons having reactions to this?
No, not at all. And Facebook back in '73 for sure. There was no Facebook. There was no social media. There was really no way for people to get to you unless they figured out a way to send you fan mail. But it was a whole different time than it is now. So if the movie just came out now, who knows? But it was such a different time when the movie came out, and I think people understand basically the version you've never seen before and stuff like that. It's kind of like reacting to something that's happened already.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned,
even in shows or horror conventions and stuff like that, you don't get any negative feedback at all.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you get, and J.J. Abrams was at a show I did, from obviously from Star Wars, and he wouldn't let his 16-year-old daughter see the movie.
Really?
So that was amazing.
Yeah.
They came over to my table and said, Dad, I want to see this. And he said, No, you are not seeing this movie until you're 35 or something. So it was a different time as far as any kind of repercussions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was a kid, my mom used to take me to the drive-in to see all the horror movies when I was about 6. And I turned out 25.
What was your favorite?
What was that?
What was your favorite?
My favorite? Well, the first one I really remember seeing is Night of the Living Dead, because I always remember a story is the scene where the truck blows up and the zombies start eating everybody. And they always tell me I was scared then, and my mom told me, no, don't worry, they're just having a barbecue. And then ever since then, I was like, oh, okay, that's fine then. But my favorite...
Well, that's when people ask me what the scariest movies I ever saw. Well, number one was Jaws. And I know it's kind of a different genre and stuff like that. But, my parents moved to Long Island to a very similar type town. And that was the first one. Night of the Living Dead was the second. It was the scariest movie I'd ever seen up to that point. I've always seen, horror films and stuff like that. And later ones like, Rosemary's Baby and or Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which I think is one of the best horror films ever made, blah, blah, blah. But Night of the Living Dead, I saw it at a theater in New York City. And I thought there were zombies behind every lamppost. It was just like, and now I know George Romero very, very well because my manager handles him. And so I know George, and he's like 6'5", and he's just a gentle giant. He's just amazing.
This you mentioned editing earlier, that you thought that was a big part of the movie. And when you're filming the movie, I don't know if you thought this was going to be a great movie or not, but when you first see the finished project, what did you think of it, and how different was it from what you thought it would be while you're filming it?
I don't think anybody really at that time. I mean, I was so young, and I don't think my mind went to what it would look like when it was finished. I don't even think I knew very much about editing and stuff like that.
So some of you appreciate it
and the movie
later.
wasn't as scary when we all saw it in the screening as it became. Maybe because we were used to it, or maybe because, you know what I mean, that we knew it was going to happen. And you're shooting a movie, obviously, from the other side of the camera, so it's not scary at all. And then I didn't see the movie for a very long time after the screening. It was held in New York City. So, to answer what was your question?
How different was the movie when you saw it in its finished, state, with the editing, with the music added, as compared to when you were filming it?
Oh, it's like comparing apples and oranges. You can't really. I mean, you read the script, so you have an idea of how it's going to get together. The movie doesn't have a lot of things that the book had. So, I mean, which happens, and then a lot of things in the script. So, you saw the movie they went straight for the horror and didn't have as much psychological stuff in there that the book and the screenplay has, which Bill Blatty, who's the screenwriter, had several discussions, shall we say, with Billy Friedkin about what the finished product was. But none of us had any idea that this was going to be such an icon, that this was going to be, like the scariest movie of all time. Everybody could hope that it made money and it was a good film, but I don't think anybody foresaw the power of the movie.
Yeah.
It's an excellent dramatic film, like you mentioned, if you're a parent or if you're a child, but even just as an average person, you can identify with Demny, and he's a great character because you watch him going through this state of unbelief and that progress. It's amazing. The acting is incredible.
And torture.
It's just so
I mean,
good.
you're absolutely right. If it was just listed as a drama instead of a horror film, that it certainly stands on its own 2 feet as a drama.
Definitely.
I think one of the things that makes the villain so good in it, in a lot of movies, in a way you root for the villain because they're like kind of cool, but in The Exorcist, the villain is really vile and vulgar, and it's not likable at all. Which
he's kind of funny.
He is, but it's
if you're sane, I imagine there's a couple people out there that root for Pazuzu. Hey, Pazuzu, Pazuzu's got its vulnerabilities too. I mean, Pazuzu wants to be liked, right?
Yeah, I guess we all do.
Actually, whenever I play a part,
worshipped might be a better word.
Well, whenever I do a film, and fortunately, I've done a whole bunch of indie horror films, many that haven't been released, some that are going to be. I've done so many of them, and when I play a witch or a demon or something, I really do try and find something vulnerable about them. Because I'm not sure about Pazuzu, but generally very evil characters or people even don't think they're being evil. And so you have to play it that way. There's no way you can play evil. Yeah, I mean, what would you do? Laugh a lot? You know what I mean? So you have to find this character within the character. I mean, even it's my favorite description. Adolf Hitler did not think he was evil.
Right.
He thought he was going to change the world for the better. And I think he made a big mistake getting rid of all the Jews and homosexuals because he didn't have an army left. But that's another subject. He found himself without a big enough army to fight on 2 fronts. And I'm not a history major, I just know that. But even people like that, they don't think they're evil. Hannibal Lecter doesn't think he's evil. And that's the amazing thing. I always thought about what Anthony Hopkins did. I mean, that character had great joy and fun at everything that he was doing. And I think you have to find that because it's the only way that, like I said, as an audience member, you have to either love or hate the people in your film, or it's just like watching something from afar and going, oh, well. And I think that's the problem with most horror films today. Because there's no character, there's no plot, there's no story.
Definitely.
I mean, I love Conjuring because that had a plot and characters and a story, and it was scary.
Yeah, a lot of the mindless killing stuff. Like I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and people will say that's mindless killing, but like you said, those people have personalities, as warped as they might be. There's personality there. You
remember them. I mean, you remember Grandpa. You remember those people.
Definitely. Like Leatherface, he's kind of sad. He's so violent, but then he's like pathetic in front of his family, and he's all shriveled up and weak. That's the biggest
time I've ever heard anybody call him sad. But that's
he's really. I mean, he's cowardly in front of his family, who is much, much smaller than him. I really do like that film. There's some parts that are kind of long with her running through the woods, but a lot of it is excellent. And what you mentioned about, what's that?
Did you like the sequels?
They're very different. I'll be honest, I haven't seen all of them, but it's very different. And actually, Robert Mukes had said this in an interview that it was so powerful. It was one of the first horror movies I saw that really messed with me. That really, really messed with me. And it was just like, oh, what am I watching? Because it was just so surreal at times. It was just, there's a lot of horror movies that are kind of, they might be a great story, but they're more straightforward. And there was just nothing. I'd just never seen anything like it. So since then, it's hard to live up. It really is. But I haven't seen all of them. In fairness, I have not seen all of the sequels and remakes and stuff like that.
Well, A Nightmare on Elm Street certainly fits into the category that we're talking about. That everyone who saw that movie, mainly kids, that someone's I'm afraid to go to sleep. And that's amazing. Not the remake.
I've never heard really much good about the remake.
That's why I think.
Listen, Mr. Nasty over there.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in anytime.
Well, I was gonna say when you're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and about kids watching and stuff, that's why I think the movie New Nightmare is the most underrated of those films, is because that's what it's actually about. Everyone plays themselves, and it's about the idea that fans actually like the Freddy character better than the Nancy and all the people that they're killing. And it's actually a really interesting movie, and I don't think it really found much of an audience because it's very different than any of the other ones. But I find it very interesting.
Remake?
No, it's called New Nightmare, and all of them. It was the Robert Englund plays Robert Englund. Everyone plays themselves in it, but it's about
I like that one.
Yeah, and it's
about in the theater, and
yeah.
the people that were with me thought it was terrible, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's because it
I never even heard of it. So
yeah, it doesn't really have much of an audience, but I find
it's got to be almost 20 years old.
Yeah.
15 years old, anyways.
Besides the original one, I think it's the best of the series.
And I think maybe, and I'll bring up her name. Maybe it's true for Linda Blair too. I think, but for Robert, it's almost a blessing and a non-blessing that. You can't look at Robert and not think of Nightmare on Elm Street. As far as his other career is concerned, the rest of his career is concerned. Which is where I'm kind of lucky. I can be in this movie and nobody thinks I'm typecast as Zuzu.
Did that ever bother you that you weren't credited in the movie?
Oh, sure. But see, I agreed to that.
Oh, okay.
Going back to the whole thing about... the whole thing that nobody thought that The Exorcist was going to be The Exorcist. And they told me. They said they felt the movie would be scarier if they thought a little 12-year-old was doing everything in the movie. Now, I also didn't realize that I was doing as much in the movie as far as, like, the vomiting sequence. I was hired to do the masturbation sequence because she was too young. I still think she'd be too young to do it today, but that's a different story. So I was really only hired to do the masturbation sequence, and I ended up working on the film almost 4.5, 5 months. So, the whole thing changed from what I had agreed to, which was not to get credit. But, you're a kid. My agents had no idea what was going on at the time. They thought the whole thing was a joke. And it's just too scary to kind of stand up and say, look, if you're not giving me credit for what I'm doing, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So that was really the choice I made. And I think they made a huge mistake because that part was actually really 6 people that played that part.
Yeah.
You think of the stand-in, the stunt double, the lighting double, the stand-in, the stunt double, Linda Blair, Mercedes McCambridge, who did the voice, the girl who did the spider walk, who was someone totally different, and me. And I think that they would have been much better off. Say, look, this is the magic of filmmaking.
Wow. Now that should be a reunion at a convention.
People made, rather than it be scarier if a 12-year-old did it, because in the Midwest, who cares? They don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not the Midwest. Anybody that's not involved in filmmaking they don't know. They don't care. They don't even watch the credits. But as far as Hollywood and Oscars and everything else is concerned, I think it would have been much better for them to say, Billy Friedkin's a genius. We took all these 6 people together and nobody knew. And I think they would have won the Oscars if they so coveted.
Yeah. No, that's
Which is a good time to do my my promotion about my book.
I was going to ask you about that book. I'm really curious.
It's called Exercising My Demons, which was kind of a mistake. We should have called it The Exorcist because it's hard to find on Amazon. Anyway, it's called Exercising My Demons. And the whole first third of the book is how I became an actress. A little skinny kid from, my family moved from New York to Long Island. So it was this little skinny kid from Long Island who didn't know anybody in the business, and how it's about dreams and choices and chances and very funny stories. It was actually written by a man named Dan Louvier, and he's just amazing. He's just amazing. The book will make you laugh. It'll make you cry. Really funny stories about when I was a little girl. Not little, not that little. I'm 12 years old. I knew I wanted to be an actress since I was 7. And he just took things like we went to see Peter Pan when I was 7. And I swear I was watching from the balcony, and I thought, if I just jump onto the stage, I can be one of the lost boys, and then I can become an actress. And then I thought, but what if I miss? I landed in the audience. So those are the kind of things that are in the book. My first summer stock job, where he hired me for nefarious reasons, took me all the way out to Michigan, stuff like that. And then we go into the audition for The Exorcist. First the interview, the audition, the screen test, going to see Dick Smith's studio up in New York, all this backstage stuff with Friedkin and Linda Blair and all those people. And then the first day on the set. And then what we chose to do, a lot of people know the scary things that happen on the set, and we mention those, but all the funny stuff that happened, because there was a lot of really funny stuff that went down, besides the fact that I think people know that the set was like kept at 10 degrees, 5 degrees, it was really cold. But all those stories are in there. And now we're going to have a contest.
Oh, wow.
And when you buy the book, we want you to take the most creative selfie. Actually, it doesn't have to be a selfie, but the most creative picture you can holding the book. And get really, really creative. And then my director of marketing, Amy Humphreys, who just the most amazing, as you know,
She's
amazing
lovely.
person in the entire world. I forgot why. Oh, so you can get in touch with her on Facebook, or Exercising My Demons has Eileen Dietz has her own fan page. You can go to www.eileendietz.com. You can personal message me on Facebook under Eileen Dietz and buy the book. And then the most creative shot that we get, we're going to send them a Pazuzu statue, which is worth over $50.
Can
the
I
second
enter this?
runner-up is going to get a Pazuzu head, and everybody who does this will get a free 8x10 picture.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. So I can enter this contest myself. I want
and
that
if you
statue.
have the
Now I'm
book-
like motivated. I'm like, I want that statue.
If you have the book already, if you've bought the book already, then you can also take this picture and send it in, but you have to include a 1 or 2 line review of the book.
That's cool.
Nice.
How much is the
It'll
book?
be fun.
How much is the book?
$25 plus
See,
postage.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, but if you get it through me, you'll get it autographed.
That's
You'll
great.
get the picture, and you can do PayPal, which is the best way, or if you go to my either Amy Humphreys' personal messages or mine, then we can give you an address that you can send a money order to.
Mm-hmm.
You can even send a check. I'm trusting.
Wow.
And then I usually send the book back in 2 days, so it's $5.99 for a 2-day delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing comes to $31.
Sweet. Very cool. I love the idea for the contest.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
Yeah.
It's almost a money back guarantee because nobody who's read the book didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
I have a
And the
little
other nice
Pazuzu.
thing, the way that Dan wrote it, was that the chapters are very, very short. So you don't have to look at the book and say, oh, my God, I don't have time to read this. Or, blah, blah, blah. You can just read one little chapter while you're having coffee.
Nice.
Or it could be a bathroom book. I don't know.
Yeah. However you want to read it.
Yeah, wherever, however, on an airplane,
Yes.
waiting for an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
You can read it anywhere. And then, like I said, take these really creative photographs, send them to us online, and it'll be a lot of fun. I think the actual contest itself is going to start it's almost the first week in September, isn't it?
It is.
Probably somewhere in the middle of September, and then it'll be a Halloween thing. So
nice.
we'll probably pick the winner about October 15th.
Excellent. Perfect. I didn't want to ask you about Helter Skelter, because we actually had this might make us sound odd, but we had Charles Manson music on the show last month.
No kidding.
They officially granted us permission to use his music. It was pretty wild.
He was our artist of the month. And so did you, first of all, did you actually shave your head for the movie?
No.
No, okay. I don't blame you.
When we all got cast, they said, will you shave your head? And we all went, oh, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, And then when push came to shove, we said, well, everybody, we said, well, maybe not. And so if you watch Helter Skelter again, here's a little piece of trivia, you'll see there's no shots of the back of anybody's head once we went bald, because everybody has long ponytails sticking out of the skull caps. And the skull caps are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the makeup people were on that film. I guess I could look it up, because I didn't know about stuff like that, and there was no IMDb anyway. But they did a magnificent job on the skull caps. Mm-hmm. And I do have, if somebody does a contest, they don't want a picture from The Exorcist for some reason, they can get a picture from Helter Skelter.
Oh, that would be
or Planet of the Apes, or any of the other stuff that I've done that I have photographs of.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that because I'm assuming you've got this big career, lifelong career, but there's like a 10-year gap. I'm going to assume you get into that gap in the book, but can you tell us a little bit about your gap? Okay, no problem. Totally
next question, please.
All right, not a problem at all. We can totally crop that out.
No, the reason that's fine. The reason I get into in the book is it's also about choices and choices you make, and I just made a whole lot of bad choices. And I go into the book about the reasons I think that we make bad choices, and you see it in a lot of actors. And I think it basically comes down to ego and a need for attention, which is why people become actors, or it's greed. And you see people like Suzanne Summers or people like that want more money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are too young to know when she was on Three's Company, or Jeff, what's his last name? He was on Taxi, and they both demanded more money, and the producers went, bye.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, I think you also really need a really strong support system behind you that can make choices for you that you can't make. Like, I have jokes with my manager, and I said, God, Chris, if only you were around when I did The Exorcist, and things, my whole life would have been different. He said, Eileen, I was 3. So, yeah, the book really does address it. And then, I also believe in timing. And when I met Chris, my whole life changed.
Yeah.
And that's like the heading of a chapter. And
that's pretty incredible.
I didn't even know about horror conventions. I didn't know about anything. But I also believe that we create our own lives and we create on our own existence, and we have to recognize it and we attract it. And like when you read the book, you'll see all of a sudden someone told me that my picture was on top of Fangoria magazine of Captain Howdy, and there was also a book. It was a friend of mine I had done a play with, and I went, really? And then I ran into Dee Wallace, who of E.T. fame, The Frighteners, Halloween, all that stuff. And she was the one who told me about horror conventions, and she introduced me to Chris. So sometimes if you're open to it and you're ready and things are going well and you just follow what's going on, that's what happened, and my whole life changed. But thank you
It's
for bringing it
fantastic.
up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's cool though, because I know there's a lot of creative and just people in general, and sometimes you'll get in a place in life where you don't know where it's going to go, and then something amazing can happen, and like you said, your whole life can change.
Yeah, overnight. You just have to have faith and wanting it to. And like I said, it's really good. I didn't have an agent to talk to. My parents were non-supportive. I really had no one to talk to, so I was making all these decisions by myself. And that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But here I am, and, I'm having a wonderful time. I became a certain age that there's a lot of work around for people my age. And so, yeah, it's all come together, and I'm very happy. I've gotten to go to London 3 times, and Spain and Germany, and I love the indies I do, Maybe one of them will hit someday. I did a movie called Lake Alice in January, and I think it's an amazing film. We shot it up in Wisconsin. It was 10 degrees below zero. But I think it's a wonderful film. It has great characters. It's a thriller. It's a murder thing. And I'm telling you, I read the script, and I didn't know who did it.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's always that dream that something will turn into the next Conjuring or Insidious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a hint to anyone you're working with, you do well in extreme cold.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I should put that on some kind of a PR thing. I want someone to freeze their butt off, call Eileen. And I hate the cold. That's the funny thing. I'd much rather have the heat. But you're very perceptive, Annabelle.
Well, thank you.
I love your name.
Thank you so much.
I like that movie, and I didn't think I was going to.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really thought.
Which one, Annabelle or Silence of the Lambs? I have mixed emotions about
Annabelle. No,
Actually,
Annabelle.
I don't think I saw Annabelle yet. I didn't see that movie itself. I should give it a try. I resisted because we had a big Neil and I have had a big grievance against the portrayal of this doll, which in reality the doll is a Raggedy Ann doll. You know Raggedy Ann doll is, and this does not look like.
I have 2 of them because that's how I got the part in General Hospital.
Yeah,
so
Raggedy Ann, but it's not a Raggedy Ann doll.
The original
it is in reality. If you follow the story, I mean, I'm not saying it's really possessed. I don't know, but there is a real doll that exists that these ghost people have, and it's in a locked glass box, and you can go to their museum and see it, and it's a Raggedy Ann doll. And this does not look like
Yeah.
And so knowing that and seeing this doll, it's like, well, this doll is evil looking from the start. Who would even pick that doll up? You'd have to be a real strange person to be like, I totally want this doll in my life.
No. I kind of agree with that, except that I'm not sure. Watching the movie, they sell so many porcelain dolls. Especially if you go into thrift stores and stuff like that, there's porcelain dolls everywhere, and I don't think that doll looks that demonic at the beginning of the film.
Maybe from the con.
And they really tried to throw it away, which I really appreciated. Because, then you said, just throw the damn thing away. And they tried to throw it away. They didn't break it. They should have broken it, obviously. But they did try and throw it away, and it kept popping up.
We should watch it. We should do dinner and movies for things we see at home.
Sure.
You could see them from that's our other project is we review movies and we tear them apart.
Well,
unless they're awesome, and then if they're awesome, like The Exorcist, we gave review The Exorcist. It's like over the top in love.
Yeah, well, they showed it a midnight screening at a theater near us, which we're lucky that we have theaters that still show older movies, because there is a magic to watching the movie on the big screen as opposed to on your computer at home.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so they were showing The Exorcist, so we were very happy we went to see it. And
that was at the Brattle.
Yeah.
That was actually not. I don't think it was tonight, but it was at the Brattle Theater. Anybody that's in the Boston area, visiting the Boston area, go to the Brattle, Harvard Square.
Are you near Rock and Shock?
Yes.
Yeah, it's about an hour outside of Boston.
Yeah, because I've done that show a couple times, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed to see if maybe I'll do it again this year. If not this year, certainly next year. It's a great show. But was that the first time you saw the movie in a movie theater?
In a theater, yes.
I might have seen it at drive-in when I was very little, but it's the first time I remember seeing it on the big screen. Yeah.
So you like to tear pictures apart?
It
Not
depends
that
on
one.
it depends on what it is. If it's something that we don't like, we're honest.
We're honest either way. If we really
We're
like the
honest.
movie, we'll be
You
fair.
should see a movie I did called Exorcism, and I don't even know if you can get it. I have no idea. Like if it's on Netflix or some. Probably there's a store here called Saturday Afternoon Matinee where you can get anything, and if they don't have it, they'll find it for you. It's great. It's in North Hollywood. But if you can get your hands on this movie, it's so ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous about exorcisms. And, we kept trying to talk him into making it into a comedy, but he wouldn't do it because he thought everything about it was really serious. And then my character just disappears halfway through it.
Well, that could be awesome. Because we do like some really ridiculous movies. It's not like it's got to be like this award winning like by the average person's standards. It doesn't have to be the best of the best. It's just gotta, like some movies just they've got it.
They've
just got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was true. But the Exorcism, they had it on the Sci-Fi Channel. What's the thing where the little people are in front of the screen and they
Mystery
comment
Science
on it?
Theater 3000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the Exorcism was on there for a long time. It's really bad.
Find that episode
it's
then.
really, really bad.
Yeah.
But you guys, your audience out there, if you want to see a really bad, fun movie, you should watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's not mediocre. It's not mediocre and it's not boring. It's just bad.
Now I've got a big smile on my face thinking about how great this movie might be.
Now you got to get my book and you got to get Exorcism.
Exactly. I do want to say you were in a movie I thought was a really good serial killer movie a few years ago. Was Freeway Killer, and I think it's a really underrated movie. After it came out, I seeked out and got the star of the movie, Scott Anthony Leet, who played the killer in the movie. I thought that was a really good film.
And then, for some reason, the company that made it had no interest in it. I don't know if they didn't like it or what happened. They had no interest in it. They didn't promote it. They certainly didn't try and direct. It's been on TV a couple of times. It's been on direct TV a couple of times. Because I have it. My direct TV is primed if a movie comes out that I'm in. So it has been there. But and they're the same company that did the movie about Jeffrey Dahmer. It became a very big film, but for some reason they didn't like this one and they didn't promote it.
Did you start doing the conventions? What has that been like for you to meet the fans, and how did they live up to your expectations? Were they a lot different than you thought they would be?
I don't think I really ever thought about it, but it's kind of amazing. It's like it's a two-fisted something or other because when you do a convention, it's very, very tiring. It's tiring making money. It's very, very tiring because obviously you have to be on for 3 days. And, you're not going to not be on smiling and nice and everything like that, which is fine because, it's very complimentary. Very, very few people, like we said before, the most that and it's usually the same question over and over again. That's okay too, The biggest problem is people who just want to talk for 25 minutes and don't buy anything. That's tough. You want to say, hey, the taxi meter is running, have some consideration. That's why we're here. And generally it's the same questions. But, on the other hand, it's very little for what I get out of it. And it's very complimentary. It's, how you changed my life, how you created my nightmares. And then a lot of people have little stories. Like 5 years old is the youngest I ever heard. And I said, oh, my God. And he said that when he was 5, his uncle took him to see The Exorcist. But he said, don't say anything to anybody. It's like, don't throw me under the bus because I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for taking you. So apparently the kid had such nightmares that he was really afraid to throw his uncle under the bus or tell anybody.
His uncle sounds like a dick. I hear a kid 5 years old bring you to The Exorcist and traumatize you and then lie for me.
It sounds like it also almost sounds like a kind of pedophilia when they say, "Oh, don't say anything, you're going to get in trouble."
Right.
This kid lives with this monster living under the bed for 5 years. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But that's the youngest I ever heard. But mainly, people say basically the same thing about that I destroyed their childhood, I destroyed their evening, that da-da-da. And the second biggest question is, did those things happen on the set that everybody said happened? And my question is, I don't know. I mean, none of us really know.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working with the paranormal, who knows? I mean, there was a fire on the set. Nobody could find out where it started, but that happens in life.
Yeah.
My manager had a fire in his house, and they never found out where it came from. So, it's a hard question.
How long did he know you before the fire happened?
That's well, he knew me for a long time because he came from out of town, but he was only in Burbank for a couple of months. That's a very funny question. I like that. But I like him, so there'd be no reason to pull that out.
You mentioned Dick Smith several times, who obviously huge in special effects and makeup, and but you also said that he really meant a lot to you. So did you keep a friendship after the movie?
Actually, I did. Not like a friendship, like I thought about it. We kept basically a friendship. Especially, he came out to L.A. And he was in a retirement home, and he had someone taking care of him, and she was very, very possessive. So I did have lunch with him one day. He was 90 by then, but I always sent him a Christmas card or an Easter card or, a Valentine's card. I sent him a copy of the book, and she sent me back a picture of him holding the book. So, yeah, I definitely kept in touch with him. He signed pictures for me that I still have. I just haven't felt that I should sell them yet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's been deceased a year now, so I don't know. Maybe someday I'll sell them, but right now it just feels very macabre.
Yeah.
And so, because he did. Knowingly or unknowingly, it totally changed my life because, again, you'll see this in the book, but Dick had to prove the fact that I could look enough like Reagan to play the demon. I like to say I played the demon that possessed her. So we had to be the same size, and we had to, have the same look. And so I went out to his studio so he could make a face mask to see if the same prosthetics could be used on both of us. So it wasn't that he consciously went out and changed my life, but he did change my life, and he was so much fun. Because he just told stories after stories after stories, and that was wonderful. He walked off the set one day. He had a huge argument with Billy Freakin.
Oh,
but
wow.
He was an amazing guy, just an amazing, amazing guy.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the argument was about? Was it just that a disagreement?
Yeah, but I don't
want to
talk about it.
All right.
Is it in the book?
Yeah, that's not in the book. I don't know if it's in the book or not. I can't remember. I have to read it. But it was something.
Second edition.
Yeah. I think it was that, as far as I know, that it was about the makeup. He was doing the age makeup. And there was one little space that he left not done on his makeup. And Billy freaking made him do it over again. And I think that was part of it. And he also designed the vomiting makeup with the pipe, the little tubes were only on one side of the makeup. And he had to go back and do the whole thing over again. So if Billy chose to shoot from both sides.
Everybody contributes so much. Even the guy that plays the cop, he's great. It's really it's a small cast and everybody stands out.
Oh, that's VJ Cobb.
Like choosing
I got to meet VJ Cobb. They brought me to Washington just to walk across the window. And so I rode in a limo with VJ Cobb, and that was fun.
That's very cool.
Because I think VJ Cobb also won an Oscar for something. But yeah, the casting was really good in that. Even the girl did the spider walk. Who could do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was.
I like the people who think I did it. Not in this lifetime.
I also want to let people know that the Legends of Horror edition of Malevolent Magazine is going to be out in October, and you were part of that.
It's going to be a biggie, and they're promoting it a lot. It's great. Isn't it amazing? Do you realize how much cell phones have to do with your success?
Yeah, it's
I
unreal.
mean, what if we were on a landline and paying long distance charges?
I didn't even have a cell phone till just a few years ago when Annabelle told me to buy one.
Yeah, when we met,
Are
and
you
I'm like, how can
serious?
you not have a cell phone? You run 2 podcasts, you've got all these different things going on, and you don't have a cell phone. It blew my mind.
I was like, I don't
No, you
need
can't.
one.
I mean, you can't exist in the world today with that. I had to make my husband buy one years and years ago because he was running a theater, and you couldn't call the theater itself. You'd call the office. And I said, what if something happens? What if my car breaks down? What if, I have to get a hold of you? So he finally got a cell phone.
Yeah, because long ago, when cell phones weren't around, I mean, you deal with it. You'd have to walk. But when there's an option, why would you put yourself in the situation you'd have to walk?
The funniest thing was when you had an answering machine, not an answering machine, but, an answering service.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be driving on the freeway, and your phone would ring. I mean, how did that happen? There was some way that you knew you got a call.
Like a pager?
You didn't know what the call was, and you have to get off the freeway in order to call and find out if it was an audition.
Wow.
That was crazy. And find a payphone. Payphones.
Yeah.
Do payphones exist anymore?
I haven't seen one in years.
No, last time I used one, I think it was like 50 cents just to make a local call.
Well, there is a section in my book that, I'm old enough to know when there were no answering machines, no answering services. You just had your landline. And so you basically had to stay home if you were really passionate.
Wow.
And by the way, a guy named Bill Oberest Jr. Do you know him?
Yeah. Yeah, we know him.
He has some two absolutely marvelous YouTube videotapes about how you become an actor and what becoming an actor entails. And he talks about that you have to be that kind of possessed. You have to be, excuse the expression, but you have to be just kind of crazy to want to pursue this, which is so difficult. You people out there that hear this, look it up. I think it's Oberst.
Yeah.
Look it up on YouTube.
I just found it. It's an actor's guide to make it in Los Angeles. Complete film.
Yeah, and he's a good guy to have on the show. If you go through Facebook or something like that, and you can use my name if you want. We're supposed to be making a movie together called Charlie Lives, which is a sequel to Helter Skelter.
Oh,
it's about Charles Manson's son.
Yeah.
Right now, he's still trying to get the money, and that's been happening for a couple of years. But Bill's supposed to play Charles Manson.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Look forward.
So I've never met him, but we know each other, and I was just very, very, very impressed by those two videos he did, and I'd highly recommend it to anybody. But anyway, so I was totally possessed to be an actor, and I never went out of town, I never went anywhere. Jobs I had were waitress jobs and stuff like that. And actually, it happened one day. I was home on a Sunday afternoon, and I got this call for a play that I had auditioned for. And they said, this girl just walked out. Her name was Joy Bang, which I thought was hysterical. But her name was Joy, and she married a guy named Paul Bang and became Joy Bang. But she just walked out. And they said, there's a small part in the second act, it's Steam Bath with Tony Perkins. And to understudy the lead, they said, if you can come down to this theater now, in an hour and a half, we'll cast you. Otherwise, we're going to go to the next name on the list. So you really had to stay home. Obviously, you don't have to anymore, but you do. And agents and managers get really, really crazy that if you don't check into your phone, if you don't carry your phone, you don't have it on and get back to your management in half an hour, everybody just goes nuts because sometimes you have an audition that afternoon. So it's a totally different life, but it's still a kind of commitment, even back from then.
Well, we'll let everybody know at EileenDietz.com. You can get your book. You can find out information and where you'll be coming up, what projects you have going on. But definitely get the book. And when you get it, take a very cool, use your creativity and take a cool picture with it. Send it in and get it on this contest. I really like this idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And also, if you want, you can just go to PayPal and buy the book at Eileen Dietz at sbcglobal.net.
Nice.
SB or
But probably
SD?
the best way is to send a personal message if you want on Facebook.
That's great.
Yeah, very cool.
Everybody's on Facebook, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of
Except my
scary. Like, what
husband.
would happen if Facebook just shut down? Wouldn't that be terrible?
I'd have a lot more hours in the day.
Wouldn't?
Well, when you
I
have
think it's-
5,000 friends and you start scrolling down,
Oh yeah,
you know, you
it's
can
impossible.
really go into what my husband calls a computer coma.
Yeah,
You know,
I've
and it's
heard there's this great expression. It wasn't just for Facebook called "time vampire." It's a perfect description. I have to really force myself away a lot of times because you get people talking to you, and then I feel bad if I don't get back to them. And
no, it can spend hours, and you know, like at night sometimes. And I don't go to bed till very late anyway. But I'll say I'm just going to check my Facebook, and you look up, and it's it's 1:45 in the morning. It's like, where did the time go?
That happens all the time. Well, hopefully they're listening to Without Your Head while they're looking at Facebook.
Oh yeah.
It's the age of multitasking now too.
Exactly.
Because I've got like probably 60 tabs open on my computer right now. It's bad.
Good Lord.
Well, we just want to thank you for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you. And we just need to remind everybody that and my book is a great gift, by the way. If you're thinking ahead of time too, it's just fun. It's because of Dan Bouvier, the guy who wrote it, that I can really be as effusive as I am about it, because I know what a great job he did. And I know people read it in one setting. So I'll go to my webpage, which is fun anyway, eileendietz.com, or, like I said, go to my fan page on Facebook, or just send me a PM. But if you send me a personal message, it better be about the book, not just hello. Because I don't know if you've read some of my notices, but I get really irritated. And then I'll tell someone, hey, thank you for writing, but corresponding personal messages for friends, very good friends, relatives, and business. Send $1, I'll answer your question. Oh, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? $1 a question. Send me $1. Put it in an envelope, seal it, and send it to my manager. He'll give
self-addressed stamped envelope, and
that's what I basically do. I mean, if somebody wants to send a check for the book, or any of the other stuff I sell, like the Zuzu statues, and there's a whole slew on my webpage.
Yeah. I hope we don't get a bill for the interview.
Yeah, that too. That'd be funny. Send me $1. I'll answer your question. I'll be your friend for $1. Well, you guys have been great, and Amy's been great. I don't know how she found you, but it's been great. It's been fun. It's 3:30 here, so it must be almost 3:20. So we almost did hit the 6:30 mark.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, hopefully I can get to Massachusetts, and we can all say hello in person.
Yeah,
and we make it out to other conventions too, so I'm sure we'll see you around sometime.
Yeah.
Okay, be sure and say hello.
Definitely, definitely. It's been a real
I
pleasure.
look like. I don't know what you guys look like, but like I said, I love your name.
Oh, thank you.
I love Mr. I like Nasty too. That's okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're not shy.
Okay,
We're not shy,
nice
so we'll
day.
definitely say hello.
Stay cool, and
Great,
I'll
you
talk to you guys
too.
later.
Thank
All right,
you very
sounds good.
much.
And Annabelle, you better order the book.
I know.
And take this picture.
I know. I'm into this whole thing.
You too, Mr. Nesson. I guarantee you'll like it, okay?
I actually did hear good things about your book when we announced that you were coming on the show.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau. Just call me Billy. Everyone does. And you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.